Gloriavale is an intentional Christian community. It's quite isolated. They really don't want contact from the outside world. All the residents that live there, they share everything, so they have a common purse, which basically means their finances are managed by people that manage finance. There's people that do all the cooking, all the meals, so everything's provided, kind of like a big family unit, I guess, but with 600 people.
All working together to build something bigger than ourselves.
And it hums along really well. It's a well-oiled machine.
I was born into Gloriavale. When I was a child, there was a community near Christchurch, near Cust, called Springbank Community, based on the same principles. And then when I was 15, I moved to the West Coast, to the Gloriavale community, and lived there till I was 42. It was a great place to grow up. Going through school, I had great friends, we had great adventures. I did some extra schooling, which I was pretty keen to do to get out in the workforce. And at 21, I was married and started our family. My wife was art teacher and artist and mum, and I was busy working first of all on the farm and then doing several different things. At Gloriavale, the people that are in charge, that are running different areas, will identify the needs, and then they'll try and find the best people to do those jobs. And then it's a matter of asking them, saying, look, this is what we need, would you mind doing that? What the leaders ask you to do, that's how you know what God wants. And so the principle is that you always say yes. I was, grinding my way through an accounting degree. It was a hard slog. And then along came this opportunity, would you like to be a pilot? So I went and did that. I was away for nearly a year doing the training for that, and then I flew commercially full-time for 4 years. That was quite hard on the family because I'd be away from 4:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, generally 4, and it ended up becoming 5 days a week, which is pretty brutal. It's quite hard to balance and to juggle all of that because there's always so much demand for work and so much need because you're not supporting just your family, you're supporting 600 people. But being a young guy, I was like, well, that's the price we're going to pay, and try and get some time with the family. They weren't my number one priority. There was always this juxtaposition of trying to do too much and not having the priorities right. And so I always felt like I wasn't giving my family enough. And it was intention. Like, it was like, well, I have to do what I do. I have to work this hard, or else how will we survive? How will the community continue if people don't work this hard? I was so busy just trying to make this thing work that I wasn't growing spiritually the way I should have. You just listen to the preaching, listen to what you're told your whole life, and so you just don't really question that. You just take that it is correct and that it's true and right, because that's all you've ever known. You live in a very insulated environment. This big bad place called the world starts at the gates of Gloriavale, and it's out there and not in here. Even in your own mindset, you can develop quite a legalistic, quite a lot of pride that what we have is so special, what we have is so much better than other Christians or other people, and to not even recognise what's in our own hearts and to recognise then the good in other people too. The human heart, we naturally make idols. We do. It's something that we put up. And then it's almost like the lifestyle, the community becomes the most important thing, more important than faith, more important than family. That's just something to recognise in our own nature and to work against it, fight against it.
Shall we blow them out?
Hey, Velvel! Hello.
Just try it. Oh, Christ will blow them out.
I blew out the last one.
Christ will blow them out.
Aren't you so big?
So with the travelling that I was doing, one time when I was in America, I stayed with a Hutterite colony, and I was really challenged with their humility, with their love, and even on some issues of holiness, like they challenged me and they said, do you guys allow this? And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And I knew they were genuine, I knew it was real. And it just struck me and I'm like, these are good Christian people and they're even better than me.
It's kind of like a big clanger on you when you grow up with just thinking you're the best there is.
And I guess that sort of started some of my journey.
So I started listening to audiobooks. I mean, obviously that was contraband. There's no way anyone could know that we were listening or watching anything like that. But with my work, I did have access to YouTube. I had access to work credit card. And so, you know, I was able to get some of those resources and share them with my family.
We read a book, Shepherding a Child's Heart by Ted Tripp.
And it was just such a blessing to us. And we're like, well, this isn't bad. This is a good thing, and it's really blessing and helping our family. And that was the journey, and I guess at the same time my wife saw that and she saw that change in me. Some of the things that she'd been sort of battling with in me were now starting to be taken care of. Gloriavale was originally founded by my wife's grandfather, Neville Cooper, who then changed his name to Hopeful Christian, I think partly because the Cooperite label was starting to get thrown around a bit. He was a very dynamic, engaging person, very outgoing, great personality. You know, growing up, he was our central figure. You know, we loved him. But then I guess probably the thing that I recognised is the way that he treated people that didn't agree. You know, if people disagree, there's the shouting, there's the yelling, there's the put downs, there's the personal abuse. And it had just become very rule-based, very regimented. Members that were maybe listening to sermons from other preachers, or maybe someone had seen someone talking to someone that had left, were actually getting pulled in and disciplined. My brother-in-law John, you know, growing up we were best friends. We did everything together, rode horses and, you know, climbed trees, fell out of trees, just did all the stuff kids do. He married my younger sister, Purity, and, you know, we were living the dream. At the same time, with the community structure, I was selected for a junior leader and felt very honoured and thought, right, now I'm gonna do this and do a good job and really, you know, help the people and you know, be a part of the force for progress and change. And, you know, all the time that I was there, I felt that responsibility. So my brother-in-law John, he had some books by some other pastors, by other writers and that were not sanctioned by Gloriavale. So someone was rummaging, searching through his vehicle, looking for contraband, looking for stuff, and found these books. And so he got harangued, and knowing that he could well be put out if he didn't, you know, repent of that. But he said, well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's great, it's life-changing. At that point, I was on the other side. I was having to say, John, what are you doing? You know, you can't do this. You know, you don't need to read these other books. And then I was influential even talking to my sister, his wife, and it was just tearing me apart, having to defend the other side against my best friend. But I did it. To my shame, I supported the Gloriavale thinking against my own family. And you know, I talked my sister out of going a couple of times and said, no, you know, you shouldn't be with John. You've got to just do what's right. You've got to, you know, do what you know is true and everything else. And it was only 3 years before John was put out that she actually came out. And it was a real journey for him. There was times of rage. There was times of just brokenness. And then there was a real challenge and real growth even in himself to go and just be with her, and that's what he did. And to see the change in her husband and that she could trust him and she could follow him, even against everything else that she knew. And so that was good. But even watching that whole process and happened to some of my other friends in that too, we knew everyone knows the cost of speaking up. The process of shunning and putting people out and cutting them off and separating from families is really fundamental. At Gloriavale, they're still doing it today, like as we speak.
After lockdown, there was a big explosion in uncovering sexual assault. We were really surprised and shocked with how widespread it was. It was worrying me, like, we have to go to the police. This is how we're going to stop it. And what they would come back on the other side is we cannot go to the police for anything. Even the signing documents, the commitment, the what we believe document says we'll never talk to anyone outside about anything inside. So for me, like, some of these things were just really big issues. I ask the average person on the street, what's Gloriavale? They'll tell you. You know, you're walking down the streets of Greymouth. I had this with my kids one day, and this old guy stopped and he just said, you people are disgusting. You know, like, because we're in the uniform, we got branded. Oh, look at those sickos, you know, pedophiles and all this stuff. And that was hard, because that wasn't us. And I'm like, I'm the parent, I'm the dad. Like, when am I going to be a man and do something about this? It came to a point, I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to write a letter to Howard, the leader, just explaining some answers, some solutions, but looking deeper into what are the core things, what are the things that we're doing that aren't right. And there were some big ones, mainly our pride. Like, why do we think we're so much better than other Christians when we're actually not? And there's also holding up of the community life as just this wonderful, beautiful thing, when actually it was falling apart and it wasn't beautiful. And these are some of the things that in our letter we were wanting to challenge, and we want to say, but it doesn't have to be this way, there's answers there. And so I guess that all led up to the point, but also too, knowing if it wasn't accepted, we'd lose everything. Funnily enough, I'd actually run into one of our friends and I told them we're writing a letter to the leadership, and funny, her response was, we'll find you a house. And I'm like, no, we believe we're certain that they're gonna listen, and you know, we want to stay here and we want to help and we want to build and everything. And she's like, we'll find you a house. So the response from the leadership was no, we don't accept the letter. We reject it completely, and if you're going to think that way, you can't stay here. And it was quite a crushing moment. The ultimatums that were given to us made it very clear. If you're going to be here, you've got to just completely put aside your own thinking, your own mind, your own thoughts on every issue of life, and just accept what the leaders say. And you know, I even brought up points like, is there any room for conscience? And they said, well, if by conscience you mean continuing to contact people that left or listening to other preachers, then no, there's not. The fact that you're here today in rebellion against the church, you know, the church, means that they are evil and they are wrong. And so we went home. You know, it was a tough meeting. We went home and we said, right, let's talk about this. Here's what we have to do. If we want to stay here, these are the things we have to do. And we knew that we couldn't agree to those things. We would be perjuring ourselves, perjuring our own faith, our own integrity to do that. So we started packing. Everything at Gloriavale is conditional. There's no even understanding of real love, of unconditional love. We've seen it all our lives, that you love someone until you're not allowed to love them anymore. And then we felt that ourselves. Even our own family was starting to turn against us. These people that we'd grown up with, that were our friends, our teachers, our grandparents, our parents, they were now turning on us as the enemy. Very similar to a communist state. And so then what followed on was obviously disciplinary meetings, the character assassination. Even through all that, hours and hours of just getting ground down, I was at peace, knowing that we'd done the right thing. And so that was just the beginning of the journey, really, for us. The move from Gloriavale was a lot easier for me than my family. I was used to interacting with other people a lot more, wearing different clothes, even running my own life, running, you know, finances and travel and all of that. Whereas these were new things for the family, just getting a bank account or the use of money and how to handle that. And
Even all of that progression, there's just been so much to learn and so much to adjust to. But you know, we sort of went into it knowing that it would be partly that way, and that we would just work through it, and that's what we've done. Today, looking back, we've just rolled over our anniversary of Family Freedom Day, as we call it, and we were just so blown away with the help and the support just from the general public. Growing up in Gloriavale with that mindset of I can't actually love even my own family, even my own children, I can't actually love them unless they meet the requirement. But actually, when you learn and understand the heart of God, that His love is unconditional. As a person, I must love everyone, even my enemies. And that's the love that Christ had. I guess when you understand the gospel, it changes your whole way of thinking, your whole way of treating other people. And they'll never be the same again. And they won't need the rules. They won't need the structures around them that are trying to just lock them into, to make them live, to make them love each other, to make them care. That's now the message that we want to share with our friends and family that are there and that are still trapped. I feel sorry for them because with this ideology, they're trapped in their own minds. And you don't actually recognize it because that's all you've ever known. That mind control, that manipulation is not unique to Gloriavale. It's in a lot of different places. It's in some workplaces. It's in a lot of mind control, cults that are really similar. So I don't blame Gloriavale for that because they're victims of themselves, really. Everything that's provided at Gloriavale, this wonderful life, this wonderful provision, is while you agree and while you don't rock the boat. And that's what's written into their foundational core documents of everything, is the second you disagree, you're not eligible for any of it. You will be cut off. Even if you don't actually agree with something, you don't think something's right, there's the pressure on you to do it or comply because of the cost if you don't. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for people. It was hard for us. For years, we weren't at the place to challenge that. And then when we were, we lost it all, just like that. People say to me, worst thing in the world to do would be to break Gloriavale apart or to just separate, what would those families do? And I'm like, those families would be fine. They're great people. You get them in a good, healthy environment and they'll flourish. Don't be afraid of that. I really see what Gloriavale's become is just a dark corner of human nature that's in all of us. People look at it and go, look at what those Christians are doing. Whereas what they've done with it is a problem, but Christ is actually the answer. And that's what gives us hope. That's what gives us something to live for. One of the biggest takeaways is just to know the love of God and to know that whatever situation, that He's in control. He's got a plan and He loves us and He cares for us and He wants what's best for us. And we can rest in that and we don't have to worry. We don't have to be afraid. It's a beautiful thing. It takes away fear. It takes away the worry and the anxiety. It doesn't mean life's going to be easy. It doesn't mean there's not going to be trials, but it means that God is in control and He loves us.